So, the Yankees take 3 out of 4 from Cleveland. Unfortunately, it ends on a sour note with the Yankees losing the last game of the 4-game set. But if you had told me that the Yankees would take 3 out of 4 with the way that they were playing going into it, definitely would have signed up for it. And what was interesting about these games was that the team that scored first lost each time. In fact, there was 3 3-0 leads that were blown early. And then the team that blew the lead never scored again. For the Yankees, what we saw, again, was a team that is home run or nothing. Like, the home runs are pretty much back now, it seems like. They weren't even hitting home runs for a while, but now they are. And that was the main percentage of their home runs in this series. In fact, the last 3 games, all their runs were via home run. And they also got mostly good pitching. We'll talk about it. Things got a little bit rocky towards the end, but mostly good pitching. Again, on the road, you take 3 out of 4 at Cleveland, and you're moving generally in the right direction. For me, is the construction of this team still an issue? In the long run, absolutely. But, you know, better to win than to lose, of course. So, again, 4-game set, and it starts off with Domingo Hermann versus Aaron Cevalle. And it started out really ugly. Very much so. In this game, Gio Urshela did not play because he had been, hurt. He had left the game. I guess it was, the Wednesday game. He had left the Wednesday game against the Braves. But he's fine. It was a day-to-day issue, but he did not play in the first game of the series. And at the time, there was a lot of talk about Gleyber Torres. He, of course, having not hustled, and, Boone said he addressed it. And I will say this, that in this game, the first game after, Torres certainly responds in a pretty major way. So also, which was good news, was Kyle Higashioka was in the starting lineup without Garrett calling the mound. So the Yankees run into some early issues in the bottom of the first. So, and it looked like, wow, this series is starting off terribly. And I felt like it was almost rock bottom. So, with 1 out, Cesar Hernandez singles to left. But this was a play that Brett Gardner should have made. He goes into a slide and he drops it. It's not ruled an error, but it's a play he should have made. Then Jose Ramirez doubles. Then Eddie Rosario singles. It's an infield single. It goes off of Mike Ford's glove. It's a play that he should have made. Again, it wasn't an error, but it gives the Indians a 1-0 lead. So then with first and third 1 out, Franmil Reyes hits a ground ball back to Domingo Hermann. He bobbles it, and then I think he was trying to throw it to second when he might have had to play at home. Long story short, he doesn't get anyone out. It's a big error, and it makes it 2-0. Then Josh Naylor gets an RBI single, and it's a 3-0 Cleveland lead. Again, where the defense has been a major issue, it continued in that inning. And we've seen Domingo Hermann not be able to field well either in multiple games. So it's 3-0 for Cleveland. And you're thinking, here we go again. But to Hermann's credit, he would settle down. And in the top of the third, the Yankees would get going. And what do you know? Kyle Higashioka, with an opposite field leadoff double, he would advance the third on a balk. And then Brett Gardner would strike out swinging. Brett Gardner is not getting it done. So where he's had chances because Clint Frazier has had his struggles, Gardner is not taking advantage of those opportunities. And DJ LeMahieu would get an RBI single. And then Aaron Judge would strike out. So LeMahieu's single cuts the lead to 3-1. Judge strikes out. Mike Ford walks. So you have LeMahieu on second, Ford on first, 2 outs. And Gleyber Torres hits a ball to Josh Naylor in right field, and it drops in. Naylor tries to throw it in and then just loses it, and the ball rolls to the warning track. So Ford is able to easily score from first. So the Yankees are able to tie the game there. So Cleveland has bad fielding of their own that inning to help the Yanks tie the game. But again, credit to Gleyber, for, again, lucky that it works so well, but it ties the game up. Hermann really, is just throwing up zeros at this point. He would, end up going 6 innings, which who would have thought that after the 3 spot in the first? He ends up going 6 innings. Yeah, 7 hits. 2 of those runs were earned out of the 3 because he had that error. 1 walking, 6 strikeouts. So a good outing for Hermann after he had been sent to the alternate site. And then in the 7th inning, the Yankees finally got clutch. We'll talk about what I felt like was their clutchest hit of the series. At this point, Cevalle's out of the game. And in the 7th, it's Nick Wickren, who's in for Cleveland. And LeMahieu strikes out looking. Judge walks. Ford strikes out. Keep in mind, Mike Ford's batting cleanup in this game. Ugh, what a mess. Gleyber Torres singles. Aaron Hicks works a walk. Good to see. And Hicks is walking more as each game goes on. And with bases loaded, 2 out, it's a 2-run single from Rougned Odor. So Odor, and we'll talk about him more as we go through the series, Odor has done a little bit better than I would have expected. I had extremely low expectations for him, but he's come up with some pretty big hits. I think back to the hit that he had in Tampa in extra innings to give the Yankees the lead there. And he's had some pretty big home runs as well. And he hasn't been striking out as much as I would have anticipated. He's not one to walk too much, but the fielding's been okay. He's had his moments, but he's also come through too. So kudos to Odor. And then Jonathan Loaisiga pitches a scoreless 7th. And then in the top of the 8th, Cal Quantrill comes in for Cleveland, and Kyle Higashioka hits a home run to dead center to make it 6-3. So again, Higgy continues to produce. We know that he's Cole's personal catcher, and with Gary Sanchez continuing to trend downward, good to see Higgy produce at the plate. We know that he's a solid defender, so definitely a fan of that. Chad Green pitches a 1-2-3/8. Unfortunately, in the 9th, Higashioka would have another opportunity with bases loaded 1 out and would strike out. That was upsetting, just again, for the, I'm not a big Gary guy. I've made that very known. So, I like to see Higgy do well. Unfortunately, he would strike out there. But Chapman just continues his mastery this season where he's, developed a splitter, which has done wonders for him. And he strikes out the side with a walk in between. And the Yankees win the game 6-3. So, I felt like this was a really gutsy comeback with some big hits along the way, most notably Gleyber in the 3rd and then Odor in the 7th. But Hermann does a nice job to shut it down, give him some link at 6 innings, and the bullpen continues to do well. So this was a very big win at a pretty pivotal time. The Yankees win that one 6-3. Game 2 basically starts off pretty similarly. Jordan Montgomery versus Logan Allen. Battle of lefties. And Urshela's back in the lineup, as well as Stanton, who had been out. Was he at that first game? I think he was. Yeah, Stanton was out for the first game. So he returns. Urshela comes back to the lineup. Sanchez as well. Bad start in the bottom of the 1st again. Montgomery runs into trouble after a Jordan Luplow fly out to Aaron Judge. Back-to-back walks for Cesar Hernandez and Jose Ramirez. And then you get an RBI double by Franmil Reyes, an RBI ground up by Eddie Rosario, and an RBI single by Ahmed Rosario. Makes it 3-0 Cleveland into 1. So literally the same thing. Yanks down 3-0. And Montgomery, you're hoping, okay, maybe he can do what Hermann did the day before and shut it down. And he did a good job in that. And the Yankees would respond immediately in the 2nd. And here's where the home run ball comes into play. With 1 out, Aaron Hicks hits a solo shot as a righty. So at this point in time, Hicks continuing to do pretty well as a righty and not well at all as a lefty. Then Gary Sanchez singles. Clint Frazier flies out and Rougned Odor hits a no doubt about it 2-run homer. Hicks home run, solo shot, Odor 2-run shot, ties it up at 3. Then in the top of the 4th, after a scoreless inning by Montgomery, in the top of the 3rd, after a scoreless inning by Montgomery in the bottom of the 2nd, Giancarlo Stanton hits a solo shot to start the 3rd. And that gives them a 4-3 lead. Montgomery continuing to do what he needs to do. And then in the top of the 5th, and at this point, Allen's been long out of the game, Stanton homers again. So when Stanton gets into him, these are some of the hardest hit baseballs in the league. And Stanton, hits his 5th. The batting average has been a problem, but, at least the home runs are starting to come. And, 2 big ones in this game that would prove to be it gave him the lead and it would stay. So Montgomery, unfortunately for him, runs into a little bit of trouble in the 5th. Gives up a 1-out double to Luplow. Gleyber probably should have made a play on a single by Jose Ramirez, which would have ended the inning. It goes off of his glove. It's a play I felt like he should have made. It wasn't ruled an error. It was an infield hit. And unfortunately, Montgomery would not have the chance to get the win. Lucas Licky would come in for Franmil Reyes. And they've showed a lot of faith in Licky, and it's been rewarded. A beautiful strike three called to end that inning for Licky. So game stays at 5-3, and then Licky pitches a scoreless sixth. Again, I did not think that he should be in such high leverage situations, but he's rewarded them by really doing better than I think anyone could have ever expected. The Yankees bats would pretty much shut down the rest of the way, but now here you go. 7th inning, Darren O'Day, replacing Licky, gets a 1-2-3 inning. 8th inning, Chad Green, back-to-back nights, he gets a scoreless inning. And then in the 9th inning, Aroldis Chapman, 1-2-3 inning. So back-to-back nights of Green and Chapman, very similar games in the sense that they were down 3-0 after the first, managed to come back, take the lead. The starter is able to settle it down, and the bullpen just does a great job. So that was the recipe for those first two games. Game 3, this one I think was the most highly anticipated among the games in the series, and it was Shane Bieber versus Garrett Cole. Now, that was a rematch of last year's playoff game where Bieber got lit up. And I knew that wasn't going to happen again, but Bieber got crushed last year by the Yankees. As you would expect, not a whole lot of scoring in this one. Not a whole lot. It's funny, Cole is such a perfectionist, and he's great. Like, you could just tell that he's so mad at himself. Let me just jump to it. Garrett Cole ends up going 7 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned run, no walks, and 11 strikeouts. Just like that. It just seems like that has been a constant theme for him. Just giving them length, minimal runs, not many walks, and a lot of strikeouts. Just very impressive beginning to the season for Garrett Cole. And Bieber pitched well himself. Pitched very, very well. And keep in mind for the Yankees, they were going into this game without Chad Green and without Aroldis Chapman because they had pitched the last 2 games. Yeah, in this one, bottom of the 4th, Jose Ramirez gets a 1-out triple that Aaron Judge was able to prevent from being a home run, but he wasn't able to catch it. And, in the past, we've seen Judge rob some home runs. He's had a little bit more trouble with that in recent years, like the last couple. So temporarily, he holds them off the board, but then Eddie Rosario gets an RBI single. Give Cleveland a 1-0 lead. But then immediately in the top of the 5th, it's the Hicks-Odor duo for the second straight game. But this time as a lefty for Hicks, which we hadn't seen. Home run for Hicks to lead up the inning, and then with 2 outs, Rougned-Odor, solo shot, 2-1 Yankees. And it would stand. That would be it. So like I said, Cole goes 7, Bieber goes 7, and in the 8th, Justin Wilson with a 1-out walk to Roberto Perez. Besides that, he gets 2 outs, and there's a wild pitch in there as well. So it's a runner on second, 2 outs, and they bring in Jonathan Loaisiga for the 4-out save. And I was curious as far as how it was going to go. He's been really good, but he's never been in like this type of pressure situation, and he gets it done. Gets all 4 outs, and the Yankees win the game 2-1. A great pitcher's duel, and the Yankees find a way. Again, thanks to the home run ball, but you'll take it. 3 straight wins at this point for the Yanks. So we head to the final game. And it is, keep in mind, extremely tough to win a 4-game series sweep on the road. And the Yankees tried to do that. The matchup would be Jamison Tyone versus Tristan McKenzie. And early on, Tyone was cruising. Absolutely cruising. Aaron Hicks was out in this game as well. Day-to-day with a back injury. Sounds like he's going to be okay, but he was not in the lineup. And also DJ LeMahieu got a day off as well, who's been scuffling a bit. LeMahieu, not quite himself yet, so he did not play. So a bit of a makeshift type lineup. Rougned-Odor was batting cleanup. You see Mike Ford back in there. Tauchman gets a start. The Yanks in the 4th finally get to McKenzie after they had some missed opportunities. They had some chances. And again, I just felt like in this game, and in general, a lot of times where they take strike 3 right down the middle and swing at ball 4 that isn't even close. It's just unfortunate. Been way too much of that, and they need to fix that. But Gleyber Torres starts off the 4th with a single, and then Gio Urshela, dead center field, 2-run homer. Next batter, Mike Ford, it's his first homer of the season. So back-to-back go Urshela and Ford. and it gives the Yankees a 3-0 lead. And like I said, 3 really good scoreless innings for Taillon. But the key for when your team gives you that 3-0 lead, you got to hold it. You have to. Like, that is key. When your team scores a run, that next inning's so critical. And it's funny where Cole gives up that run in the third game, and then Bieber, the 2 runs he gives up is that next inning. The Yankees were able to respond. Well, Cleveland was able to respond here. And Taillon had so many 2-strike opportunities and just could not put hitters away. And that's what got him. Cesar Hernandez hits a bloop single that I felt like, I don't know if Torres gave up on it. Tauchman was coming in, and Torres, I don't think it's anyone's fault, but it's unfortunate that they get that single. And then Jose Ramirez gets a single. And then Eddie Rosario gets an RBI single. And then the big blow happens. Franmil Reyes, opposite field, just gets out. Judge leaps, but he wasn't going to rob it. He wasn't going to catch it. And the Indians take a 4-3 lead. And that was just really bad at that stage where the Yankees take this lead. Cleveland had been struggling pretty much all series when you think about it offensively. They had done next to nothing. But Reyes had a really big day today. And so Taillon ends up only going 4. Yeah, this one is mostly on him. And it's been a mixed bag for him so far. I think that there's reasons for optimism, but this was not good. He only goes 4 innings. The most he's gone this year is 5. And we've seen, with him and Kluber, length has been a major issue for those 2 in particular. And you hope that will improve over time. I know that they're coming off injuries, so that's something that needs to get better because this bullpen is being used quite a bit. And then here's my next issue. For the bottom of the 5th, after, unfortunately, Gio Urshela strikes out to end the 5th, again, on ball 4. And I think Gio, he's one of my favorite players in the lineup. I like what he does, but Gio, too often this year, has been chasing. So they bring in Nick Nelson, and it just goes to show that up until today, because to move ahead, Nick Nelson is sent down after this game. He's optioned, and so we won't see Nick Nelson for a bit, which I'm glad. Very happy about that. Luis Cessa needed to be ahead of Nick Nelson on the pecking order, and I have an issue with the Yankees where I think that they view the innings as more important as the situation in the game, where like Tampa Bay, if there's a big spot in the 5th inning, they're going to bring in the best person that they see fit. One could argue, well, Cessa's ahead of Nelson, but they just wanted Cessa in the later innings, and we're hoping that Nelson can give them, some scoreless innings. But the way that the usage has been all year long, Nick Nelson has been in way more important situations than Luis Cessa. And Cessa is more of a veteran, and he's been really effective. Again, I understand a lot of these innings have been like mop-up innings and low-pressure spots, but that was not the right thing to do. Nelson has not gotten it done, and it would continue again today. Bottom of the 5th, never want to do this. Leadoff walk to Austin Hedges. That's always going to lead to problems. Ahmed Rosario would then line out. Nelson throws a wild pitch. Hedges goes to second. It's a single for Cesar Hernandez, first and third, and then a sac fly for Jose Ramirez. Not a good inning for Nelson, and it would get worse. So at this point, it's 5-3. Bottom of the 6th rolls around. And this was after Mike Tauchman gets a 2-out double. Clint Frazier walks pinch hitting for Gardner, and Frazier has been walking more lately. I think he's close to coming around here. And then Giancarlo Stanton grounds out to the pitcher. He hit it relatively hard. You kind of felt like that was a big at-bat. So it stays 5-3. Franmil Reyes gets a leadoff triple. Naylor grounds out to first to hold Reyes at third, but then Luplow gets an RBI double. And then after Andres Gimenez strikes out, Austin Hedges gets an RBI single, makes it 7-3. So that's basically ball game. And that is ball game right there. With the way the Yankees are hitting, and with Cleveland's really strong arms and late in that game in the pen, that was it. So Nick Nelson ends up going 2 innings, 4 hits, 3 earned runs, a walk, and 2 strikeouts to up his ERA to 9.72. What do you know? Luis Cessa pitches 2 scoreless innings, gets 2 strikeouts, and his ERA drops to .77. He needs to be pitching more than he has and in more important spots. I've been a fan of Cessa. He's been on this team for a while, and there were higher expectations, and him being a starter just didn't work out, but he has a new role, and I think that he should be used more. Yeah, as you could expect, the Yankees didn't do a whole lot. There was a really nice catch by Clint Frazier, the last out that Cessa had in the 8th, Beautiful catch by Frazier to Rod Luplow. And yeah, like I said, Yankees go down quietly. Indians win 7-3. So the series ends on a negative note. But overall, again, Yankees go to win 3 out of 4 at Cleveland. And now they will finish off this road trip with another 4-game series, this time at Baltimore. And what I'm interested to see is the first game will be Davey Garcia's season debut. So Garcia, who I felt pitched well last season. Young kid, but I was encouraged. Garcia will start against Matt Harvey. So Matt Harvey, previously the Dark Knight, but if the Yankees can't hit Harvey, yeah, I definitely think that's a problem because, obviously he's been getting a lot of chances. He's been bouncing around, but the Yankees have usually had some success at Camden Yards. You can expect to see a decent amount of home runs, but I don't think it's going to be that easy of a series. Baltimore just ended Oakland's 13-game winning streak. So to think that this will be some easy series, I think would be wrong. In general, this week, you have 4 at Baltimore and then 3 home against Detroit. So it is time here to, get back to 500. And again, there is a lot of time left in the season. There's a lot of teams kind of hovering around 500, honestly, all throughout baseball, really. That's just kind of how it's been. We'll see how the Yankees do. Again, looking forward to seeing Garcia's first outing. It's pushing everyone back. So Garrett Cole will not pitch in this Baltimore series. He will pitch against Detroit. So I'm fine with having a 6-man rotation for now, especially with kind of they're being cautious with Kluber and Tyone, and Hermann's been up and down. So totally fine with that. But again, would love to somehow see the Yankees not being so home run or nothing, but I just know that's the way they're built. So we'll see what happens. I'll talk to you soon.